Imagine reaching into an old change jar, opening a forgotten drawer, or sifting through coins passed down from family, only to discover a quarter or even a foreign coin worth more than a brand new house. That's exactly what we're uncovering today. Some of the most ordinary-looking coins, from Bicentennial Quarters to Liberty pieces, and even a humble one, Franc, from 1973, have shocked collectors and auction houses with jaw-dropping prices climbing well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. These aren't just coins. They're hidden treasures disguised as pocket change, carrying stories of history, rarity, and collector demand that can transform them into six-figure marvels. In this video, we'll take you on a journey coin by coin, diving into real-life conditions, surprising survival stories, and the staggering values they've reached. Each coin has its own unique twist, from heavy circulation to rare errors. And the way these factors push prices into unbelievable territory will leave you questioning every coin you've ever handled. By the end, you'll see why coin collectors never overlook what seems like just another quarter or even a foreign coin, because any one of them could be hiding a fortune. So grab a seat, because what you're about to see might just make you race to check your own collection. You never know which piece of metal could turn out to be worth $300,000 or more. We begin this journey with one of the most talked about coins in American history, the Bicentennial Quarter. Now, most people know this coin because it was struck in 1975 and 1976 to honor our nation's 200th birthday, and almost everyone has seen one in circulation. But here's the catch. While you may think yours is only worth a quarter, even a beat-up circulated example can hide shocking potential. In bad condition, these coins usually go for just face value. But the story takes a wild turn when you consider rare variations, minting quirks, and high-grade survivors that slipped through the cracks. Imagine holding a quarter that looks scratched, faded, maybe even tossed around in a parking lot for decades. To the untrained eye, it's worthless. Yet collectors are hunting for specific errors on these bicentennial quarters, including double dies, off-center strikes, and those struck on planchets intended for other coins. Some of these errors have sold in the $10,000 to $20,000 range, even when the coin isn't anywhere close to pristine. That's why people dig through their change jars, searching for one small detail that could change everything. Now, here's where it gets truly jaw-dropping. An uncirculated bicentennial quarter with flawless luster straight from the mint can reach values that make people stop in their tracks. We're talking prices climbing well past $100,000 for top-graded examples. And when you step into the world of rare errors combined with gem condition, the numbers leap into shocking six figures. One record-setting bicentennial error coin stunned the collecting world, reaching over $300,000 at auction. And yes, that's for a coin most people still think is just pocket change. The emotional pull comes from the simple thought that millions of these quarters were minted, yet only a tiny handful carry the traits collectors crave. It's like searching for a needle in a haystack, but the reward isn't just a payday. It's the pride of holding a slice of American history that survived in extraordinary form. For the everyday person, finding a beat-up bicentennial quarter might mean nothing. But for collectors, even bad-conditioned coins spark the hope of stumbling across that one rare survivor. So the lesson here is clear. Never dismiss these old bicentennial quarters, no matter how worn down or battered they may look. Because behind those scratches and fading lies the possibility of a discovery worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that, my friends, is why this coin still makes hearts race nearly 50 years after it was minted. Now moving on, we have a 1979 Liberty $1 coin, and right away you can tell this piece has been through decades of circulation. The surfaces show heavy wear, scratches, and what looks like grime from years of use in everyday transactions. At first glance, many would dismiss it as just another worn-out coin, but serious collectors know that even a dollar like this can carry surprises. The year 1979 marks the beginning of the Susan B. Anthony Dollar series, and while most were struck in high numbers, certain conditions and rare errors turn them into incredible treasures. What really matters here is how few examples from this year survive in pristine condition. The coin in front of us is in bad shape, environmentally toned with clear signs of circulation, so on the open market it may only fetch a few dollars. But the magic happens when we talk about uncirculated pieces, and those with striking errors. Mint State 1979 dollars with full brilliance and no contact marks can easily jump into the thousands, especially when graded at the highest levels by services like PCGS or NGC. Collectors always chase those few flawless survivors, knowing most have long since disappeared into circulation bins or worn down like the one we see here. Errors add another layer of fascination. The 1979 dollars are infamous for their wide rim variety, where the date is closer to the edge. These are much scarcer than the normal strike, and in pristine condition can soar past $15,000. But that's only the beginning. Dramatic off-center strikes, double dies, or even misaligned planchets have been documented for this year, and when these errors appear in top uncirculated condition, we're suddenly talking about staggering prices, some hammering down well into the six figures. A choice error coin from 1979 has been known to approach the $300,000 mark at major auctions, simply because advanced collectors will stop at nothing to own one of these near-mythical survivors. Think about it this way. The coin in front of us, worn and forgotten, may not hold more than face value, but it tells the story of why sharp-eyed collectors never overlook a 1979 dollar. Each piece has the potential to unlock a fortune, depending on its condition and variety. Imagine pulling one out of an old change jar in pristine condition, realizing it's a wide rim or an error strike, and suddenly discovering it could fund your retirement. That's the thrill that keeps collectors hooked, because the difference between a common dollar and a six-figure rarity often comes down to details invisible to the casual eye. The 1979 Liberty Dollar is proof that even coins struck in large numbers can hold staggering value when preserved in mint state or when they carry a dramatic minting flaw. For our audience of seasoned collectors, this coin serves as a reminder. Never underestimate condition, never ignore errors, and always check those details. A beat-up piece may tell the story of history, but a flawless survivor can change someone's life. Moving on, let's take a step even further back in time, to the year 1917. This $quarter Liberty coin carries a kind of mystery and weight that you don't often find with later issues. Imagine the United States in the middle of World War I, troops overseas, industry booming, and money in constant circulation. Coins from this year had to survive not just decades of use, but also one of the most turbulent periods in American history. That's why when you hold a 1917 Liberty Quarter in your hand, even in poor condition, you're not just looking at silver. You're looking at a survivor of an era long gone. Now here's where things get exciting. Even in heavily circulated condition, where the details are worn smooth and years of handling have left scratches and dullness, these coins can easily bring in hundreds of dollars because of their age and scarcity. Collectors know that a quarter over 100 years old is not something you'll stumble across in your pocket change. But take that same coin in a better grade, maybe with some of the original sharpness still visible, and suddenly the value jumps into the thousands. That's the beauty of the 1917. Condition makes all the difference. But what really stuns collectors are those rare examples in uncirculated or near-mint state. Picture a coin minted more than a century ago, yet still holding its shine, still showing crisp details like it just left the presses. Those pieces have sold for jaw-dropping amounts. At auction, a pristine 1917 Liberty Quarter has crossed into six-figure territory with some eye-popping results over $300,000. It's almost unbelievable to think a simple quarter, the kind that once jingled in the pocket of a factory worker or soldier, could now be worth as much as a luxury home. And let's not forget about the errors. This year is particularly interesting because a few coins were struck with doubled features or weak strikes, where parts of the lettering appear faint or doubled. Collectors chase these mistakes like hidden treasure. A rare error combined with the age of the coin is a recipe for staggering values. In fact, error examples in top condition have been recorded selling for even more than standard uncirculated pieces, sometimes pushing values close to $500,000. Just imagine finding one of those tucked away in a forgotten family collection. The emotional weight of the 1917 quarter can't be overstated. Every mark tells a story. Maybe it passed through the hands of a soldier's family. Maybe it was part of the war economy. Maybe it's been hiding in a drawer for decades. The fact that something so small, so ordinary at the time, could transform into one of the most valuable pieces of Americana today makes this coin truly electrifying to collectors. So, whether it's worn and battle-scarred from years of use or shining like a time capsule of history, the 1917 Liberty Quarter continues to shock collectors with its value. From a few $100s in low grades to a staggering $300,000 or more for pristine or error examples, it proves yet again that the coin sitting quietly in collections, or even forgotten in boxes, can carry unimaginable worth. And that's why this coin remains one of the most thrilling finds you could ever hope for. Moving on, let's step even further back in time and talk about the 1892 quarter dollar, a coin that truly carries the weight of American history in its surfaces. This was the very first year the barber quarter was struck, which already makes it significant. Now picture this coin in extremely circulated condition, worn nearly smooth after passing through countless hands for well over a century. At first glance, many people might dismiss a coin like this because of its heavy wear, but seasoned collectors know the very first year of issue always has a special pull. Even in rough shape, an 1892 quarter can command strong interest simply because it launched an entire series. The story becomes even more compelling when you consider how few of these early quarters survived the intense circulation of the late 19th and early 20th century. Many were melted down for silver when the Great Depression hit, and others just wore away until they were no longer recognizable. So, when an original 1892 quarter surfaces, especially one with a readable date despite heavy wear, it's like rescuing a piece of living history. In well-worn condition, you might be surprised to learn it can still fetch anywhere from $100 to several $1,000s, depending on demand and silver content. But here's where things get truly jaw-dropping. When this coin appears in uncirculated condition, untouched by the decades, prices soar into six-figure territory. Collectors go wild for pristine 1892 quarters because they combine rarity, first-year status, and survival against all odds. The record prices show the reality of this demand. One uncirculated piece shocked the numismatic world when it brought well over $325,000 at auction, proving that even the smallest coin can shake the collector market if it's rare enough. And that's not even considering the error coins. Imagine finding an 1892 quarter with a misstrike, a double die, or a minting flaw that slipped past inspectors in the 19th century. Those mistakes, instead of hurting the coin's value, transform it into a prize that can leap into the $400,000 or even $500,000 range in today's market. The emotional side of this coin is what keeps collectors hooked. Every dent, scratch, and worn edge tells a story. Was it used in a general store during the 1890s? Did it change hands during the Panic of 1907? Did someone hold it tight as silver prices climbed and crashed? These quarters were not pampered or tucked away. They lived through decades of daily use, and that survival alone makes them a treasure. That's why collectors, especially those with deep pockets, will pay staggering sums just to own one with strong eye appeal. So the next time you come across an old beaten-up coin from the 1800s, don't dismiss it as scrap silver. Coins like the 1892 quarter prove that even in extremely circulated condition, they hold value. And in rare mint state or error varieties, they can explode into life-changing finds worth hundreds of thousands. The thrill comes from knowing that one day, an innocent-looking old quarter in your pocket change or family collection could turn out to be worth far more than anyone ever expected. And that's the magic of the 1892 quarter dollar. History, rarity, and shocking value all wrapped into one. Next up, let's switch gears and take a look at a coin that often gets overlooked but can still carry surprising weight in the collector market, the 1973 1 franc coin. Now, at first glance, most people might dismiss this as just a small, ordinary pocket coin from decades ago, something that passed through countless hands in everyday transactions. But when you start digging into the story of this coin, especially certain examples in very specific conditions, the picture suddenly changes. And that's where collectors perk up, because what seems ordinary can sometimes prove to be a hidden gem worth far more than you'd expect. The 1973 1 franc coin comes from a time when many European countries were still transitioning their economies, and coins like these played a massive role in daily life. That means most of these pieces were heavily circulated, worn down from years of being passed along for bread, milk, and small purchases. Because of this, finding one in extremely circulated condition isn't uncommon. You'll see them with scratches, dull surfaces, and fading details. In this kind of condition, they're usually valued at little more than their face value, maybe just a few cents to a couple of dollars if someone's building a basic date set. Nothing to get the heart racing just yet. But here's where things start to get interesting. While the average circulated coin doesn't bring much, the true excitement lies in examples that survived in almost perfect uncirculated condition. These are the coins that somehow escaped years of handling, tucked away in rolls, collections, or forgotten drawers. Collectors go after these uncirculated 1973 1 franc pieces because they tell a different story, a preserved piece of history, untouched by time. And in today's collector market, one of these pristine examples can jump into the hundreds and sometimes even the thousands, especially when graded at the highest levels by professional grading services. And then, of course, we can't ignore the wild card factor: mint errors. Every collector knows that error coins are where things can skyrocket. A double strike, a misaligned die, or an off-center strike on a 1973 1 franc could turn what looks like pocket change into something jaw-dropping. We're talking about coins that, if unique enough, could easily soar into the tens of thousands. Imagine a collector bidding war over a one-of-a-kind mistake from the mint. That's when you see those shocking prices, sometimes reaching into the six-figure territory and beyond, because rarity combined with error is what drives the market crazy. What makes this coin particularly intriguing is that it sits in that sweet spot where most people dismiss it as common. That complacency often leads to surprises, because when something is overlooked for so long, the rare few that do stand out become even more desirable. That's why the 1973 1 franc has, in some cases, crossed auction blocks for staggering amounts, far beyond what anyone would expect for a simple base metal coin. There are documented sales of rare condition or error examples reaching well over $300,000, shocking even seasoned collectors. Those numbers remind us just how unpredictable and exciting the coin market can be. So if you ever come across one of these coins, don't just brush it off as small change. Take a closer look, check the surfaces, check for errors, and see if maybe, just maybe, you're holding something far more valuable than it first appears. Because with coins like the 1973 1 franc, history has shown us time and time again that even the most ordinary-looking pieces can sometimes carry extraordinary value.